It's Radio Free 501c, the voice of Rogue Tulips Consulting. Don't forget to subscribe. We're on all your favorite podcast services. This week, I'm joined by longtime friend, first-time guest, Nicole Araujo of Mighty Citizen, and we are going to be discussing building community one cup at a time. Welcome to episode 209. Hey everybody, it's Monday, September 11th, and that means it's time for another episode of Radio Free 501c. Yes, it is September 11th, and on this day in 2001, a terrible attack happened in New York City in the US. Let's all take a moment and remember how awful we can be to each other, and let's try to turn that around today. Do some random acts of kindness and put out some good energy today in honor of all those people who died. So, on a happier note, we're going to talk about building community today with first-time guest, longtime friend and colleague, Nicole Araujo. I'm your host, Cecilia Sept. I am a CAE and a CNP, and I am the principal and founder of Rogue Tulips Consulting. To our global audience, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be, and thanks so much for joining us. I want to throw it over to Nicole to say hello and tell us a little about herself. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, Cecilia. Thanks so much for having me. The first thing I'm going to say is, while this is a very solemn day, I have to say a very happy birthday to my dear little Alexander Araujo, who's going to be 17 today. He is my blessing on a bad day. So I remember when I went into labor with him, I was like, not September 11th, but then it has been such a joy to have him and to do something good on a day that is so solemn. So I'm thankful for that. So a little bit about me. I'm Nicole Araujo. I'm the Client Engagement Director at Mighty Citizen. I've been working with associations 20 plus years. I'm going to say that for the rest of my life because otherwise it'll age me. But really my background is started in like association operations from like the call center and fulfillment side and handling customer service, moved into member communications and marketing, and now marketing, branding, and websites. So my job is to work with associations, see if it actually is a good fit, and move things in a better direction to make organizations mightier.
That's great. And yes, I am a fan of Mighty Citizen. So a couple years ago, Nicole called me up and asked me to be a beta tester for the Mighty GPS.
Yeah.
Which is an excellent tool, no fee, offered as a service. So if you haven't tried out Mighty GPS, go to the Mighty Citizen website and find it, and it will kind of give you a gauge of where you are with your marketing and your communications, and it's great.
And just released the benchmarking report this year on that too, so you can gauge yourself.
Yep. And is that on the website too?
It is, absolutely.
Excellent. It's always good to have these data sources, and there's so many great companies and solopreneur consultants out there sharing this kind of information. So I always appreciate highlighting that for people. And one of the things Mighty Citizen does is help build community. And that's what we're here to talk about today, building community one cup at a time. And one cup at a time, we mean one cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Now, we've mentioned that today is kind of a solemn day of remembrance to remind us all to be human and honor each other and our humanity, but also celebrating happy birthday, Alexander. That's fantastic too. But there was another recently rough time that pretty much the whole world went through, and that was the pandemic lockdown. And Nicole's reaction to that was to start reaching out to people. She reached out to a small group of her friends and said, hey, why don't we like check in with each other every day? Years later, 3 years later, we're still doing it Monday through Friday, and it's turned into a really wonderful, supportive professional community. And it's one cup of coffee at a time. So Nicole, could you explain to our audience what that is and how it works?
Absolutely. And the way that you describe it's a little bit different. It was actually a 2020 panic attack of how am I possibly going to stay connected with people? Because anyone who has met me, I may have a little teeny dollop of extroversion. And I have a complete and utter I'm completely addicted to people in general. I love people, and that's why I come to work every day. It's why I get up in the morning. And I was having a panic attack. How do I stay connected? And I literally thought, okay, you have coffee every morning. That's the thing you do every single morning. Why don't we just open that up? And I know you said I opened it to a small group. The reality was I opened a Zoom and put it on my Facebook page and then put it on my LinkedIn page. And this was before, like, I didn't think anything about security. I didn't think anything about anything. Like, I just threw the links on there and said, if you're in the association community and you want to join, just jump on. Here are the links. And it was actually Deidre Daniel who had sent me, she calls my cell phone really quick. She's like, tell me you've locked these links down. You don't, people are going to hijack these. So thankfully I have community, right, that comes in and supports me and put in a little security feature, but really it's open. I am so surprised and have such gratitude for our community that we still are doing this. And it's, no obligation. It's literally, if it's not the easiest thing you do, then it's no use, like, don't do it. And there are days that even I don't show up, but the call still goes on. And what makes me happy is not only did it get us through 2020, but it continues to get us through today. Like, just everybody has a rough day. Everybody has a rough time. Everybody hits a challenge that they don't know how to deal with, or they have really great news that they just want to share. And in the virtual world that we're in now, it gives also a place that you can connect and have a little bit of that office talk without necessarily being in the office. So I love what it is, and it will continue going as long as it has a purpose. And right now it still has a purpose.
It really does. And I have to say, first of all, sorry I messed up the history. I thought you just started out with a small group of people and then expanded it. So
it just happened that 4 people got on the first call, and then it went from there.
And and it's really great. I love this concept because I think a lot of people who know me might remember that I've done a lot of volunteer leadership development over the years. That was mostly what my focus was as a staff person. And so building that access, building those connections, building that community is really important. I continue to do that with clients and with people who take our CAE courses and CAE study groups. That's one of the first things I tell them: reach out to each other. Here's a way to expand your network and connect with people you may not have met. And so the thing about the coffee group that I like is you're always welcome, no matter how long you've been gone. So sometimes I can't come for a long time, and then I just jump right back in. Everybody's like, oh, hey, you're here, and it's just like, it's fine. But one of the things I really appreciate about it is the think tank aspect of our community, because people come in with questions a lot and say, well, I'm looking for some advice. And I know the group has been really supportive of people seeking their next opportunity. So people come in and say, oh, my whole membership department got laid off, and I'm looking for a new position or something like that. And the coffee community is very inspiring. And it's even, I really like how you emphasize the virtual part, but could you talk a little bit about how we have moved it into the 3D world?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've taken it from, we have had a couple of in-person events. I think one of very proud moments of mine, and it wasn't even my moment, but one of those, you have these moments where you just feel like, oh, wow, we are putting such great energy out in the world, right? At ASA Annual in Nashville, I was getting, I had 3 roles at that event. I was board member, I was running around for Mighty Citizen, being an exhibitor, speaking at a session. I had all of these different responsibilities, and I couldn't be everywhere I wanted to be. And throughout the time there, I would get pictures of coffee chatters from the airport or at a lunch table together, and they were making these little meetups together and creating these in-person kind of events and meeting these people in face-to-face for the first time. Because while it is an East Coast time, because again, I threw it together and didn't think about it, we still have West Coast people on there. We have Midwest. We're really coming from all over. And these people were meeting for the first time. And they said it felt like we had a team waiting for us, and that makes me have such pride, because something that I literally started due to a panic, right? And my immediate need was also a need for other people. And it has created a space where people do feel welcome, and they do feel connection, and they do feel emotionally tied to it, and that it is safe, like, to go away for 3 months and come back and go, you know what, guys, I realized that this had fallen off my radar and I need something to lift me up. And I think we do that naturally, just in having that conversation and people feeling like they're not alone. And I think that that's a big value of the group.
Well, and I think another value add is the LinkedIn group that a couple
Yes.
of them start it. And I really appreciate that, because like on those times where you can't be on regularly, where maybe you can't go for a couple weeks, you can still stay in touch with everyone and share notes and
Yep.
messages. And I think when you and I were talking a little bit as we were preparing for this episode, you mentioned value
Mhm.
proposition from community. And I think one of the things that we can share with membership associations or foundations that are maybe trying to bring their stakeholders together, is there some lessons to be learned from this about set a regular time, bring people together virtually, have a way in between,
Make it easy. I
make it
think I think if I could put a label for anything, and this is with when we started this, there was no brand, no messaging, there's no value proposition. Literally, it was just, we're going to throw it to the wall, which is not how I recommend to do things. You want to typically understand your audience, right? But I mean, I feel like being in the association community for 20 years, I understood my audience, at least a subset of my audience, the ones who wanted to join or who needed to join or who needed to feel that community, they were going to join, right? But that understanding of value, what you're putting forward, what you want it to represent, being clear about that, making sure people understand that messaging, that's something with any organization, but that emotional connection, they have to really feel emotionally connected to it. In this case, I think one of the key features is that people feel emotionally connected because of the industry we're in. I have never been in an industry where you can meet somebody for the first time and you are just so vested in their success. And that's the association community. It's why we work in this community, because we are helping others. And I think the coffee is just another aspect of that. And it's something that's easy to do. No agenda. They don't have to bring any work with them. We don't have a dress code other than you have to be dressed.
right.
We don't care if a baby is in the picture with you. Like it is a low key, low stress, not something that you have to fully prepare for in order to join every morning. And I think having that ability to have an emotional connection at that level without all the prep work,
Right.
it gives an easy space to do that.
It really does. I think that's an excellent point, because so many of the things we organize are over prepared. In my opinion, they're
Okay.
overthought, they're overstructured. But the nice thing about the coffee chat is you can just come and listen. You don't even have to be on camera. You can just sign in, listen. We always have a really robust conversation going on in the chat area. And everybody is welcome, which is what I like, because one of the things I talk about a lot is the nonprofit professional community is made up of many different segments. So we have chief staff executives, we have staff at all levels, we have consultants, we have what are known as industry partners, but we're all in the profession and we're all in the community. And the great thing about the coffee chat is everybody's welcome in that conversation, because we all recognize that and that we have something to offer each other.
And sometimes it's just a different point of view. And
Mhm.
I love that, we do have a couple of rules. And, it is a safe space. It is a place where we're not always going to agree, but we have to agree to be kind to each other. Like Cecilia, you and I do not have to see the same view of the same point and be heading down the same road together. We don't. But I respect you as a professional. You respect me as a professional. And we know that we have diverse opinions. And that's what I love about it. It's not often that call gets fired up, but when it does, I love that it can be very constructive, and it's not to hurt anyone's feelings. It's just, oh, wow, here are two different views of this, which means that from an audience perspective, your audience is having two different views of this as well.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
I mean, it's just representative.
And that's really a good point. And that is one of the things I really do appreciate about the coffee chat, is that people don't make it personal.
Mm.
I mentioned the other day, I remember we were having a coffee chat and you said, oh, does anybody have a topic? And Ray was kind of quiet. And I said, well, I got reminded again, don't have important conversations on social media.
Yes.
And it was in a Facebook group and somebody made it personal. They couldn't just disagree. They were like attacking me personally. And I'm like, that's me why I don't do this anymore. And we don't do that in the coffee chat, which is great. We just say, well, I don't agree with you. Here's why. Or a lot of times I'll say, oh, well, I never thought of it that
Yeah.
way.
It's different perspective.
That's a good point, because I want to see the whole picture. I don't just want to see one piece of it. And I only see one piece of it from where I sit. So I do want to hear what other people have to say. And I really like that. I actually wrote a blog post about it, about how we can disagree and still like each other.
I read that post.
Well, and for the audience, if you want to look it up, it's called Cognitive Dissidence. And so, because we're all very smart people and we have our positions and we share this information, and we can say, well, I'm going to disagree with you on that, and here's why. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to push back on that, and here's why, without descending into name calling or taking the attitude of you're either with me or against me, because generally, most people do agree on some level about stuff, if they would just find that space. And that's really one of the great things about any community. I'm very active in my neighborhood community. We have a community association. I'm very active in that as an ad hoc volunteer. And not everybody in my neighborhood agrees on most things, especially, political issues, but we can all still get together and have fun together and do things together. And that's really what's important. So it's really a great,
especially from a membership organization or from a community organization, like, you don't join those things unless you have a reason to be vested, right? And typically that reason to be vested is it's something good for you, or it's something you get a benefit from it, or you have that emotional tie to it. I think that's an important feature. I have a neighbor who wants me to join our HOA, and I'm like, I'm already part of the HOA, but beyond like the leadership level, and I'm like, I don't know that I'm ready for that yet.
That's where it's different, Nicole. We have a community association. We don't have an HOA, so it's a little bit easier. I've been on the board of an HOA where I used to live, and I would delay that for a while. It's hard. It's hard because you just, unfortunately, and that's just kind of a thing. And that's a different kind of community. So you have your
it is
live, and an HOA is telling you what to do. There's lots of rules. It's very strict. And if you're in a leadership role in one of those, it's very difficult to navigate, because somebody is going to be unhappy and they're going to be really loud about it.
Well, I have realized that in life, that there are just sometimes people, like, there's always going to be a percentage of people that you just can't please, and you've got to give yourself a little bit of grace and let that go and present the facts, be who you are, be authentic, be kind, right? And it'll figure it out.
Right. And just remember, people are always loud when they're unhappy, and they're pretty much silent when they're happy.
Yeah.
And that's the sad.
See, and I wish that would change a little bit. Like, if I think that's actually something of the kindness level. Like, I try to make sure, and you talked about my cat jumping up here, and of course he just did. But but I feel like if people could just be a little bit more vocal when there is some good, I think this whole world would have just a whole different energy level.
I agree with you. I try to flip that. I try to tell people when I think they're awesome. I try to say, hey, I think you did a really good job, or I like that. But this is such a good point to bring up, because community can help spread the word. Try to be.
Absolutely. And it builds people up.
Yes, because we had our usual landscaper start mowing our lawn again this year, and they did a really nice job the first and second time they did. So I sent a text to the man who owns the company to say, hey, what a great job your team did. We were really pleased with how well they cleaned up and everything. He calls me, what did they do? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, you sent me a text. I said, I was sending you a text telling you how much I liked the work they did. And he kind of laughed. You could hear the smile in his voice. Really?
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And I said, well, you're welcome. I just wanted you to know I thought they did a good job. But we're expecting to hear negative. It's like that story. You probably know the story, Nicole, the warm fuzzies versus the cold pricklies.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, we're so used to the cold pricklies now. When you get a warm fuzzy, you don't know what to do with it. And I'm with you.
The world needs more warm fuzzies right now. And this goes back to your September 11th, comment about like increasing and being, sharing some kindness, doing something for somebody else. I think it was Amy Hemphill. She's with ASAM, but she posted on social media like the other day about just being, at a restaurant in the drive-thru, and she paid for the person after her, and that person paid for the person after them, and that person paid for the person after them, and it was like 4 levels back, right? And you never know. Deidre Daniel has the big fat tip, where, she collects $1,000 and then gives it to, goes into a restaurant, buys a cup of coffee and tips $1,000 to somebody who doesn't have that happen, right? And the stories that she has of that little bit of kindness. And, while we're doing our daily jobs, like we're in our daily lives, people are still human beings. We screw up. We do our best. I think I have yet to find anyone in our industry who is dedicated every day to doing subpar work. Everyone that I know is coming in, they're in this industry because they want to make a difference. They want to do a good job, right? And they're going to screw up because we're human beings and there's a percentage of error there, right? And if we can say, oh my gosh, look at how much this person did, and in this one thing is a little mistake here, right? Let's not crucify them. Let's actually say, okay, how do we fix this? And there's one thing actually I love about Mighty Citizen. We have permission to fail a little bit, and we have the ability always to go back and report and figure out what's happening, what's good, how would we change it, what would we do better the next time. Like there's never something that we do that doesn't have that look back at it. But I mean, if I could give the gift of anything, is kindness and grace to people, because we have no idea what we're carrying.
That's right. And that's exactly it. And I've learned over the years to be very cautious in how I talk to people because I don't know their story. Like there's sometimes people have an illness that you can't see. They're walking around like, maybe they have some sort of neurological illness, like multiple sclerosis and arthritis are two really good examples. You can't necessarily see them, but that doesn't mean the person's not struggling with something. But also there's the emotional thing, people's experiences, where they come from. So I try to be very, very cautious when I talk to people, especially when I'm meeting them the first time. I try to ask a lot of questions and listen. And also when you call customer service and they're trying to help you, and maybe it's taking them a long time, but they're really, really trying, be patient with that person and give them a break, because they're trying their best and you're calling up. Most of the people that call up customer service are screaming.
Absolutely. Yes. Trust me, used to be in the customer service business. It's rare that you get the good call that comes in and goes, your team was wonderful, and when you get that, you share that, you move that on, you find a way to spread the joy, because it is sad. People will report the negative before they report the positive.
Well, and it's kind of like people are happy when a good thing happens, but they don't spread. You're right. They don't spread that word. They don't spread that joy. And I think really the world is a lot better off than we think it is most days. Yeah, bad things happen, terrible things happen. But generally, think about your own day. You got up, you had something to eat, you went through your day, you went to bed, you woke up safe again the next day. So that's a win, people.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what Nathan Bell had the best way of saying it. He was on he's on the coffee chat. He started coming after this last ASA annual, and what Michael Butera said to him, good morning, how's your day? He said, well, I woke up this side of the ground, so I'm happy. Right. And it's like that sets the stage. I'm awake and I choose that today is going to be a good day. And yeah, something may happen, because something's always going to happen. But we have the only thing, and this is the great advice of Paul Yaskanich, my father, was you can only control what you can control, and that is you. And your reactions is what you can control. So, and sometimes, we're human beings. We have feelings, so we react.
That's right. And there are certain things that tick all of us off. We all have our buttons, and part of being a grown-up is knowing what your buttons are and kind of taking a deep breath when somebody presses one. But
choosing how you want to react to it, or choosing how you want to be reflected upon. How do you want to be represented?
That's right. And again, take a deep breath, folks.
Yes. Okay, so my cat who jumped up here, his name is Rob Thomas. And the real Rob Thomas of Matchbox 20 actually did a solo album. And on that album, he's done a couple of them, but it's like Chip Tooth, I think is the name of the album. And I'm pulling all this from memory, but one of his songs is called Breathe Out. And that is a perfect song for scenarios like that. And I'm going to hope I'll send you the link. You should link it into the description if you can, because I think it's worth sharing.
Yeah, I think that's great. And a song
in building of community and how to handle situations and that thing. I think it's just an extra reminder.
and kind of building on your comments about like giving each other some grace and having a little patience with each other because we are all human. I've really been thinking a lot about the Simon Garfunkel song Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Yeah.
And it's about being a good friend and being there when people really need help.
Yep.
And again, kind of rounding out our conversation for today, because as you know, Nicole, you and I could talk for another 2 hours straight.
True.
This conversation needs to come to an end shortly. But the coffee chat that you do Monday through Friday, and you've been doing for 3 years now, came out of what you said was kind of a panic about how am I going to get through this period without help. And that's really where this all started. And that's really the heart of community, isn't it? It's like, how are we all going to connect with each other and help and support each other?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I am blown away because I think the first call had 4 people on it in April of 2020. And like, I think we average anywhere from 16 to like 32. And I love the fact that it is still a manageable group. We have never had to do breakouts. We've never had to do anything like that because it is a show up as you can and show up when you want to, right? But we've probably had 400 plus people cycle through, right? Yeah. The ones that show up once a month, or the ones that show up for a week and then, you know, they take on a new job and a new role and the time doesn't work out or their kid's schedule doesn't allow for it. But they know they can join on a holiday or whenever they want. But, you know, the days that we have 32 on there, wow, how is this possible? But, you know, it's just, sometimes you got to just run with an idea. And I will tell you that this coffee chat was the first time I had the idea, didn't hesitate, and just jumped and did it. And not knowing, I'm like, I literally thought I was going to be alone on the coffee singing all by myself and recording that and sending that out on my social media. But in reality, it turned out to be something that I never, ever thought it would be. So I'm thrilled. I've allowed it to evolve.
That's a really positive note to wrap up this episode on. If you take that risk, jump off that cliff, you never know what's going to happen. It might not work out, but hey, it might.
Permission to fail.
Permission to fail. I love that. Well, Nicole, this has been a great conversation about community. I am what I call a coffee chatter. I come on as much as I can. So if anyone is interested in joining this coffee chat, if this is the first time you're hearing about it, reach out to Nicole. So Nicole, how can people reach you if they have questions about the coffee chat or about Mighty Citizen?
You can reach me and I can definitely give you all the information. You can always email me. And honestly, anyone who's on the coffee chat who feels that there's somebody, or if somebody reaches out to them and says, I'm in the industry, I'd love to join this, they will send you the links. And I trust the people who are on there and we're just going to grow. But my email is naraujo, ARAUJO @mightycitizen.com.
Great. Thank you so much, Nicole. I know it's been a long time coming and I know you'll be back. So, because we have
you know where to find me. It's always a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you. Thank you. And actually, we agree a lot more than you might think we do sometimes.
I know we do.
We're like, Agassi and Sampras or something like that.
Yes.
Case. No, we've known each other for quite a long time. So, well, Nicole and I need to go rogue for now, but I'll be back next week with another exciting episode. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss one of our upcoming guests. If you'd like to learn more about Rogue Tulips Consulting and how we can help your organization bloom outside the box, check out our website, roguetulips.com. If you don't see the specific thing on our services page you're looking for, let's talk and we'll see if we can work together. If you're interested in ongoing education for nonprofit management professionals, check out our education program, the 501c League. It is so big. It has its own website, the 501cleague.net. We have study groups going on right now, and we have some on-demand courses coming out later in September. So that's all for this week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.